Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, host of the Leaders Round podcast. Today, for episode number 219, I have a very, very, very special guest. We just got connected last night through a common good friend of ours, Karen, and we were supposed to have a meet and greet chat for 30 minutes. We ended up talking for almost 2 hours, and because it was such a powerful connection, we so aligned. My new, good, awesome friend Nelia. First of all, she's also from. We're not far actually. She's in Barrie, not just north of Toronto. I'm in Toronto as well, and that was the first connection. And then, what really connected me to her and that we really made us talk so long is that she's all about giving. She's all about helping. She's doing wonderful, wonderful things, and she's blessed to have the most unique, most amazing son. We're gonna talk about him in the course of this conversation, but wow, just a little about her. She's I don't know where to start because she's doing so many great things. She's what she stands for is all about giving, giving, as she said, saved her life in a way and give her a reason, a passion, and as she likes to say, the number one thing to healing yourself is to give. And she's doing something phenomenal with her son. She's building projects to help the kids in Guatemala and other places through a project called Project Ukulele. Sorry, the Ukulele Project. I should know because it's right behind you, and I'm just reading it, and I remember it from last night as well. She's bringing ukuleles from Canada, and then she's going to villages in Guatemala and giving that to underprivileged kids, and then teaching them music, giving them hope through that. And we talked a lot about that, about doing things together. But we're going to talk about that once we have something more concrete. But suffice to say that I was really, really excited last night, and so was she. And another thing I mentioned her son. She told me something that actually literally blew my mind is that her son one night or one day came to her and said, "Mommy, do homeless people have birthdays?" And then, long story short, she started doing runs to provide gifts, food, and other necessities to homeless people in their town, even when it's minus 30, because it does get up to minus 30, minus 40 up north, and that was phenomenal. As I said, we will do in a future episode. We'll bring both you and your son, and then another one with your son. Your son should have his own show because he has so much to share with the world. Is not a son, is an angel, but we'll talk about that. So many things, and now Nelia is helping people launch their global passion project that are more aligned with their heart, not just about money. As I said, sure, we all need to make money, but let's do so in a way that is meaningful, impactful, and purposeful, and that's exactly what she's doing. So I can talk, and as I said, if I were to read your biography or your bio, the intro would be 10 minutes. So it's much better for me just to do a very short one, and then we'll explore and unpack all that in the show. So, anyways, let's go straight to it. Oh, and another thing powerful that we have in common: she speaks Portuguese because she's from Portugal. It was awesome for me to speak with her in Portuguese last night because I speak Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. She speaks continental Portuguese, and it was fun. And anyway, so a lot that we can talk. So Nelia, bem-vindo. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Obrigado. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Payman. I am so grateful to have met you yesterday. And, I've been following you for a little while, but then when Karen said, you guys need to
Really? You've been
meet.
following me? I don't know that. Where? How? How did you know about me,
Yeah,
first of all?
just on the YouTube.
Okay.
And I was just listening to a whole bunch of I was binging your episodes yesterday
Wow.
after we spoke because I couldn't get enough of you after our
You didn't
conversation.
tell me. Which one did you listen to?
Oh my gosh, I listened to a few. I'll have to look at the names, but it was just, I don't know, it's like you're speaking my language as we were talking yesterday. The things that you were saying, I'm like, oh my God, is he like reading my mind? Because some of the things you've gone through, are so similar to me. And so I felt a very deep connection. And I actually had a little bit of tears yesterday when we were speaking because some of the stories we share are so powerful and changed our lives. So thank you. Thank you for helping me, share my message. I know you're so much about how important messages are to share. And we all have one, no matter if we think so or not. And yeah, I don't know, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful to have met you and be here and share the mic with you today.
Pleasure's all mine. It's absolute honor, absolute pleasure. And as I said, my little pinky, my best friend, my most trusted advisor, as I keep saying, is telling me that this is going to be the start of a few projects, a few episodes we'll do potentially projects together. But anyway, that's exciting.
Oh my
Well,
gosh. Even when you said the pinky, I say that all the time.
oh
My
wow.
pinky is, isn't that funny? My mom, I grew up with my mom always saying, my pinky tells me if you're lying, or my pinky tells me, the feeling comes through there. So that's so funny
You
that
know,
you
when
say that.
someone when I have to make a decision, even business decision, I always tell people, let me run it by my trusted advisor. Of course, they don't know it's my pinky, my MTA, my most trusted advisor. You know.
It's true. You got to go with your gut. You have to. No
Yeah.
matter what people tell you around you, you have to go with your gut.
Awesome. So I don't know if you recall what I told you last night. The types of conversation I like to have on my podcast is to have a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart, have a heart to heart conversation, hence the name Leaders with Heart, because it's all about getting to know who's the person, who's Nelia as a person, human being, first and foremost. We're going to talk about your wonderful impact, your business a bit later. But first and foremost, we want to know who's Nelia as a person. So tell us, for someone that doesn't know you, who's Nelia as a person, as a human being?
So Nelia is um, always evolving.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
Up until a few years ago, I would say I was very shy. I was very introverted. I didn't have a lot of self-esteem, self-confidence. I always felt like a misfit. I always felt that I didn't belong. Now I feel empowered. I feel that my message does matter. And it's the number one thing that I'm passionate about. And it does save my life every single day.
Mhm.
I love connecting with people. I do need to have time to myself. I love connecting with people, payment, but it exhausts me because I give so much of myself that
Mhm.
I need to, that's just me. I do need those breaks in between.
Sure.
Music makes me come alive. Music makes me feel, I love that. I love family. I love just dreaming, and I'm a
Mhm.
big dreamer, a big dreamer. And people sometimes, they label me as crazy because of that. But
Yeah,
I don't care. I always have to have something to look forward to. I just feel that life is so much more than what people think it is. So
absolutely.
I'm just a big dreamer. I don't know.
Dream big,
I
my
don't know
friend.
what
Dream big. The bigger, the better. Not only for you, but for people around you in the world, you know? So awesome. Now, to further get to know you better as a person, I'm going to ask you a series of rapid fire questions. Ready?
All right. Yes, I love
All
it.
right. What makes you happy as a person?
What makes me happy? Being around my family.
Hmm.
When I see other, when I witness, and people don't know that I'm doing it, but when I witness people giving to other people without being humble about it and not doing it for being famous or doing all these things, and I'm kind of watching from afar, the smile comes to me and I don't even notice, it just makes me feel so full, right? So I love that so much. Genuine.
Beautiful. Now, speaking of smiling, what makes you smile?
Watching kids play, I love that so much. I love that. Yeah, connecting like the young with the elderly. I don't know. There's a big connection there that I think people miss out on, and it
Hmm.
really makes me smile.
Beautiful. Now, let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your soul come alive? What makes your heart sing?
Music, dancing, singing, playing music, writing music,
Hmm.
feeling music. Travel is huge for me.
Oh, yeah.
Learning about different cultures and why things are the way that they are, and maybe demything all of these things that people think about other countries that really aren't true until you go and visit, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I love that. I love it. It fills my
Beautiful.
soul for sure.
Beautiful. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
What makes me angry? Coming back from Guatemala with the airplanes shut down, people complaining about being home with COVID when I just came from a place that is starving and can't feed its people.
Mm,
That makes me angry. People who do not appreciate what they have makes me angry. What makes me sad? People who don't appreciate that they're worth something, because
mhm.
I've been there. People who don't feel like they have a story,
Oh, yes.
who don't love themselves, that makes me sad.
Oh, yes. You're speaking
Loneliness,
one.
loneliness makes me sad.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you there. Absolutely. Now, what scares you?
Oh, what scares me? Not being able to help other people, because I
Mm,
know it directly affects me as well in my life. It directly affects my health as well. It directly affects how I live my life, how I show up for other people. And I have this fear that if I have all these dreams, what if they don't come true? I feel this responsibility to do these things, and it really does scare me sometimes. What if I can't do it? That
mhm.
factor of, how is it going to affect everybody, but also how is it going to affect me? Because I know it kind of helps my mental health, to be honest. Yeah.
Beautiful. What would you say is your number one personal superpower?
Oh, empathy.
Mm,
Absolutely. It's something I used to hide away from me, because most people would say, "Oh, you're crazy. You're just too emotional. Stop crying or stop blowing up things." And now I realize it's the best part of me. And that's hard to admit sometimes, but
mhm.
I feel like I'm at a place now where I can actually say that and be proud of it. It took me a long time to get there. So,
Absolutely. Beautiful. Now, when was the last time you had one of those laughs that literally make your cheeks hurt, having you tears of crying too much and giving you stomach?
oh, wow. Playing with my nephews and nieces, playing with children, and just tickling and just forgetting about the world and having that contact and just forgetting everything and just letting go and being in the moment of just playing around, and try to like let their joy reflect on you at their innocence, just, yeah, I don't know.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Absolutely. Kids are special.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
what lights you up in the morning when you wake up?
I don't do mornings well, Payment. I'm gonna tell you. So I'm gonna change that to like when I get up.
Okay,
What
okay, fair
lights
enough.
me up? Knowing I've got important things to do that day.
Mhm.
I want to hit the road running. I want to just go after my dreams. And I think if I didn't have those dreams, I'd have a little harder time getting up in the morning, to be honest.
Absolutely. It's a
So
dream that keeps
yeah,
us going. Now, you like traveling, right?
love it so much. I wish I could do more of it.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait till I start traveling again. But now let me take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you're
Mm.
a kid, a young girl growing up. When we're kids, people around us, family, friends, teachers, relatives always ask us, "So Nelia, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was your answer as a young girl to that question?
I wanted to be a singer.
Oh wow.
I wanted to be a musician because my father was one and I loved
Mm-hmm.
it. I also loved teaching little kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be a teacher, but then soon realized I don't think I could do that job. But teaching just it would make me happy just if I could show somebody how to do something and they got it and I was excited for them, that feeling. But definitely music. I wanted to be a rock star. Like in my high school bio, it says see you at the Grammys, like I really wanted to get into music.
Was there a musician, a singer, a group that was your role model growing up?
Not really. I was an 80s girl, so I loved hard rock growing up.
Oh
Loved
yeah.
it. It was around me everywhere. But I also loved like Portuguese music, and I
Oh
loved
wow.
all kinds of different, because it was in my home every day.
Mm-hmm.
My father used to have instruments all over on the walls, hanging all over our house. So you couldn't escape it. People would come over and we would have that gathering community through music.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, anything that made me feel something, whether it was rage with, hard rock or in that teenage stage, or it was, just kind of chanting with no like lyrics from other parts of the world, or African drumming gives me
Oh yeah.
this powerful sense, feeling like I can do anything. I don't know. There were so many. I can't honestly. I don't know. I loved so many.
Beautiful. Now, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
Uh, what age group are we talking here, Payment? Because I don't know. So in grade school, I loved school.
You're the
Loved
star. You
it.
can share about whatever you want.
Yeah, grade school, I loved. High school, I didn't because I felt I couldn't be me. I had to
Mm,
conform. It's Catholic high school, and I just didn't have the freedom to do the artistic stuff that I wanted to do. And, there's so much pressure on kids today to be doctors and lawyers and all
mhm.
about study. And there's so much more to life and learning.
Sure.
So I would felt a little stifled in high school, but loved elementary school. Loved it.
Beautiful. Now, in all those years in school, what was your favorite subject?
Music.
Oh,
That's
just
an
yeah.
easy one.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
son looks at my report card and he's like, wow, you weren't a very good student, but you got A's in music every year through. And I'm like, yeah, because I love being there. It was a
Beautiful.
place I felt, it was the place that I felt welcome.
Mm, that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, accepted.
What was your least favorite subject in school?
Math.
Oh yeah, me too. For you,
I
was it
didn't
because
do
of a
so well.
teacher or because math just bored you to death?
It didn't bore me. I just didn't understand it.
Mm.
I got to a certain point and I was okay. And then when they introduced letters should not be a part of math.
Yes.
Like letters should be in English and math should be math. Like once you start introducing letters to me,
Yes.
it was a completely different language,
Yeah.
honestly. I didn't like that too much.
Yeah. I hear you. What was your very first job?
Factory with my mother at
Mm.
12 years old. I
Oh
didn't even
wow.
have my social insurance number yet. She would drag me, work ethic, Portuguese immigrant family. We would go onto the Toronto subway and wait for it to open at 6. And I used to sleep like this on her shoulder all the
Oh
way to
wow.
Scarborough. And yeah, but by the end of that summer, let me tell you, I was able to buy my own bedroom set. I felt so powerful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was my very first job. My mom dragged me to the factory she worked at.
They allowed you to go to work at 12 back in the day?
They did. She was friends with the boss, and
Okay.
we tried it, and I went for a few summers after that, and then I just worked in
Beautiful.
music stores and yeah, Harvey's and
Oh
bakery.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I worked at Harvey's for like 9 years through school. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I do like Harvey's. There's one not far from us. I might go today for lunch today. So
Yes, think of me.
absolutely. Awesome. Now, let's talk about your path. How would you describe your path from the moment you left school to now? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing once you get into one lane, set for life? Was more like turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
Nothing in my life has been straightforward. Um,
That makes it one more fun.
yeah, halfway through high school, my father had an accident at his job,
Mm,
which forced us to try to make income elsewhere.
mm,
So my mom held two jobs. As soon as I could work, I would work and help out with the family. And I
mhm,
realized soon after high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to waste money that
mhm.
my family didn't have on going to university and college when I had no clue what I wanted to do. It would be a
Good for
waste of
you.
money.
Good for you. It was a blessing in disguise, I'm sure.
So I didn't go to college. I didn't go
Mhm.
to university. I got a job on at
Oh,
King and
wow.
Bay in a law firm full time right out of high
Wow.
school. I was 18 years old. Worked in the records department. I stayed there for 10 years. After I started there, I met my husband, who was connected through this company in a different way. And so we met and fell in love, and we dated for 5 years. And during this time that we were dating, I decided I need to get back into music. So I
Mm.
actually put myself through 12 months of a private music school. It was a recording school. So I'm a certified recording engineer
Wow.
and did very well in that school. I was one of 6 girls at that time.
Wow.
It was all men, like it was all boys, and excelled. And not being a really good student through high school, I was surprised at how well I did. And then got married. And in that business, you have to, when you start, you have to start for a few years, like at midnight. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm newly married, I'm 23, I don't want to work midnights. And so I kind of took a break from that, although my passion was still there for music. I did recording from home and did some work that way. I continued at the law firm, and after I got married, I was like, went to George Brown. I took some night courses for editing. And then I started my family. I moved out to Barrie and I work at a doctor's office now, something completely different,
What made you
but
move to
to me,
Barrie and leave Toronto?
prices,
Oh
house
yeah, that's a good
prices.
one. Yes.
Oh my goodness, house prices. I had been renting in Toronto for the first 10 years of my marriage. And
Hmm.
then I said, enough is enough. Got to buy
Yeah.
a house. And this was about 45 minutes north. And my husband had family up here. So we
Okay.
looked around and it was so affordable. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
great. Moved here, didn't have a job for 6 months, didn't have a bus route on my street, didn't have internet, didn't have appliances, didn't have anything.
Wow.
um, got a job a year later. My son was born. And I'm always taking, I believe in being a life learner. So I'm always taking courses, took medical
Hmm.
courses, took different things. And I don't know, working in a medical office was something I never wanted to do. I never thought I would end up. But it's funny how things happen for a reason. And I know
Oh
that you're
yes.
big on that message.
Sure.
And soon after I started at the doctor's office, my father became sick. So it allowed me, little did I know that I was supposed to learn about all these medical terms and all of these
Oh
things because
yes.
it helped
Everything
me
prepares
take
you for
care
what's
of
next
him.
to come. Yes.
And you don't
Totally.
even know it. Yeah, but
Yes.
you have to be open. If you're not
Yes.
open, you don't see the connection, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, I didn't go to university. I didn't go to college, but I did go to that private school. Yeah. And university and college is amazing, but it's not for everybody. And
Exactly.
for a lot of my life, people said, oh, they looked down on me because I didn't go. And I was like, but I'm okay. My life is good. I feel okay. I don't feel that I missed out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's my education background, though.
I
But I'm
totally
always
with
learning.
you. Totally with you because university, as we told you last night, is amazing if you're dead set on becoming a doctor or lawyer or something that requires actual accreditation. But if
Yes.
not, no. Even an amazing alternative would be go to a trade school. Trade
Mm,
school, you will always have a job, even in and downturns and all that. But even better, and that's what we talk was something I'm very passionate about. And that's what Europeans, Australians do all the time. After high school, they take a gap year, travel the world, go see the
I
world
wish I
because
did.
yeah, traveling is the best form of education, not only to learn about the world, but learning about yourself. And even take a fraction of what you would pay for a semester in college, university, learn a high income skill, go start a business, whether it's a drop shipping, e-commerce, copywriting, graphic design, or whatever. Worst come to worst, you'll learn a skill. But what if it works? Then you will not ever need to go to university or to get a job. And even if you were wanting to get a job, nowadays companies, at least the good companies, they don't care about where you went to school. They care about what can you do. Look at Google, look at Apple, even Tesla. They don't care about your resume. Don't even look at your resume. It's okay. Here's a problem. Fix it. Show me how you do it. That's what they want. And even me as an entrepreneur, even you, when I hire, help, I just tell them, okay, here's the problem I have. Show me how you do it.
Absolutely. And if you
Yeah.
can go through that path and not have all that debt to start your young life,
Yes.
even better, because that can really weigh people down. And it can be the difference between them following a job that they love to do versus what they have to do to pay that off, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that is the greatest thing that's holding people back. It held me back for the longest of time. Now that I'm finally free of that, I tell people stay away from debt. Only use debt that's going to be good debt. It's going to allow you to accumulate assets, not to buy whatever to impress people you don't care about. But anyways,
Yes.
that's a different story. Awesome. Now, there's a saying, I'm sure you heard it, which says, change your story, change your life. And by that, I mean, when you're at your lowest point in your life, how did you change your story? By story, I mean what we tell ourselves in our head all day long, time to change your life. How did you do it? Did you do it through the help of friends, family, mentors, books, relatives? Tell us the process you used, Nelia, to change your story in order to change your life.
Oh, wow. That's a big question. I could answer that in so many different ways.
Oh, yeah.
So, when we started this conversation, I was telling you a bit about how I always felt like I was a misfit and I didn't belong.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt, and I did this to myself, it wasn't because of the people around me,
Mm-hmm.
but I always felt that I was stuck in this bird cage. So I talk about this a lot. And you probably can't see it behind me, but I have a lot of bird cages in my room here. And it's a reminder to me because I was playing with this bird cage that I have and just playing with it. And I was like, okay, it was one of my most depressing moments. And I was sitting there. And then as I was playing with the doors and the hinges and things on it, I realized that the door on this cage opened from the inside. And I was like, wait, hold on a second. Is this just like a, bad product? Like they just made a mistake and they
Prank?
flipped the door around? Like, I don't know, right? And I opened it and I'm like, oh my God, I could have done this all my life.
Yes.
So I realized in that moment, like I was just kind of stunned. And I realized in that moment that I have been letting myself stay in this cage. It's not up to anybody else. And I always was waiting for other people to come and save me. And that's going to be the title of my next book. Don't wait till somebody comes and saves you.
Love that.
And I was always waiting. I have a loving husband, loving friends, loving family around me. But unless I want to be different, unless I want to do more for myself and other people, I can't get myself out of that mindset and that thinking. So that day, it really opened my eyes. And it actually has two doors. So they both open from the inside. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, I can allow myself to be inside when I want to be protected and open up when I don't need to be. And
Mm-hmm.
that really was the starting point. And around that time, my son taught me about giving. He was a big, huge blessing and factor in this changing of my story. I used to be one of those people, and I know that you did too, because I heard you say it in a few of your shows, that was like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why am I not as smart as everybody? Why um do people think that I'm over emotional? Why can't I do things as good as other people? Why am I not as pretty as other people? Why don't I have any talents and all these things? And I think it was because I was believing those few people that were kind of telling me that. Because I didn't go to university, because I didn't go to college, I wasn't perceived as good enough. And I decided, you know what, no more. And the older I got, I think the wiser I got too. So I did get it through community. I got it through some very good friends that had, it's tough because when you don't think a lot about yourself, it's an
Mm-hmm.
important exercise to say to people that you love and friends, tell me 10 things that you like about me. Tell
Wow.
me 10 things that you think I'm good at. Because I was like, I'm not good at anything. So my best friend, Milena, she's Italian, she's in Toronto. She would write a list, and I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of do that. And it wasn't until we did that exercise that I realized, hey, I'm not always going to believe what other people are saying about me. I know who I am. I'm going to stop hiding and just, I'm not going to say disregard other people's opinions, but really, my opinion does matter.
Oh, totally.
So that's when I started reading more books and listening. I love TED Talks. I watch TED Talks all the time. I always learn so much about myself, about the world, and I see different views and perspectives. And that's part of why I started my podcast, because I just love having these conversations with people. And yeah, I I think it was a little bit of everything, but it had to start with me. I was
Totally.
my worst enemy for most of my life.
That's a beautiful because just like you said, the cage is locked from inside. And that's such a big metaphor for everything. It all starts here. It's us that
Mhm.
give the power to others, that give, you know, credibility, importance to other people's opinion that don't know anything about us, and that's so powerful. That's one of the amazing lessons. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And speaking of TED Talks, you should
Mhm.
definitely do one yourself because the story you have,
Oh,
seriously, have you done one yet?
no, but I am seriously thinking about it. I would love to do one. Yes, I would love to do one on the topic of giving and receiving and how it can really change not only the people you're helping, but yourself. Because that is how I get through my anxiety, my depression, my PTSD. That is how
Mm-hmm.
I find myself and find a reason to get up in the morning. It's that feeling. Nothing makes me feel like I don't have, like, there's no word in the English language that describes the feeling that I have in my stomach, everywhere in my body, when I see the exchange of kindness between one person and another. There's no word that I know of that has been, um, you know, that exists that explains that feeling. You only know it when you do it, and that's what I want to talk about. I would love to do a TED Talk. Love to.
I can connect you to people who specialize in helping people, getting on TED Talks.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. I,
just
I
let
would
me know.
love it. Yeah, yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
do that.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Awesome. Now, you made a perfect segue into what you're doing, the impact and giving, which plays a big role in you. So tell us about the impact you're having in the world. Tell us about your business. Tell us about how you're making the world a better place in your own unique way.
So it's funny because, you know, I feel like I am impacting, but it's only a small percentage of where I want to end up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to get down on ourselves because, oh, we're not doing enough. But you know what? We're doing something. And that is a great start. Um, I am trying to connect the world through travel, through giving, through music, because I do want to see more human kindness. I want people to know that they can dream, that they can hope. Right now, did you want me to talk about the ukuleles or what would you like me
Yes,
to?
yes. Share with us the story of how your son one day came to you and said, "Mom, do homeless people have a birthday?" Because that was very
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yes. So, to just put this into context, my father passed away as I was pregnant with my son. And after my father passed away, I spent 12 years of my life in silence. So I couldn't express my grief. I was trying to protect my family and do all the things, the business thing side of it. And what do you do after somebody dies and all of these things. And would forget about myself. I became very anxious, more so than the rest of my life. I became very depressed. So when my son came to me this day, I was in a state of numbness. I was in a state of just living one day to the next day to the next day. And so I didn't have a lot of energy. I didn't have a lot of passion at that time. And he came to me, and he was not a sleeper. And he came to me and he says, it was 10 o'clock at night. And he said, Mom, he goes, do homeless people ever get loot bags? And in Canada here, loot bags are little gifts so if I go to your birthday party as a child, you would get sort of like a little gift in exchange. It could be candy or something from the dollar store, just to say, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. So they're called loot bags here.
Mm.
And he says, do homeless people get loot bags? And I'm thinking, well, in order for them to get loot bags, they have to be invited to birthday parties, right? So my answer to him was, well, sadly, I don't think they get invited to many birthday parties. And he says, well, we're going to change that, like in his
Wow.
little voice. He's like, well, tomorrow morning we're going to get up and we're going to go, to the department store and we're going to get them loot bags. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, go to bed. I went to bed. It was a huge snowstorm. It was December, a huge snowstorm outside. He went to sleep. I went to sleep. And like I mentioned earlier, I am not an early riser. So on Saturdays, I like to sleep. So if he let me sleep at that age, I'll try to sleep. 6 o'clock in the morning, jumps on my bed and says, "You ready?" And he was a sleeper, like he wouldn't sleep at night, but then he would never wake up early, right? And my husband was next to me and he says, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, Evan, he's got this idea of just going, I don't know what he wants to do exactly." I said, "But he's got this idea that we're going to go and buy gifts for homeless people. I don't know." So he's like, "Okay, have fun." He went back to bed. I got up and my son's like, "Okay, let's go." So we got in the car, not really knowing where we were going to go. We ended up going to Walmart. And I said, "So, Evan, what's the plan?" Because this was his idea. And he says, "I don't know. Let's go and buy like beach balls and this and that." And I'm thinking, well, what do homeless people really need? Maybe they need food. Like I was trying to guide.
Beach balls in December in a snowstorm.
I don't in the winter. So I'm like, I don't know, because whatever you get in loot bags, he was thinking candy. And I'm like, okay. I said, that's a good idea because I didn't want to discourage him. But I said, what about, do you think they would need food more than, because, his thought at 6 years old, he's thinking fun stuff, right?
So
I'm like,
time out, 1 second.
yeah.
Was that the first time that he had these kind of ideas to you and that shared with
Yes.
you? And how did you feel once he started sharing that kind of idea
At
with you?
first, I thought he was crazy. I was like, oh
Ah,
my God, it was just another thing to do. Like,
yeah.
honestly, the first, and then I was like, we were driving and I was like, oh my God, I need to make this work for a
Hmm.
few reasons. I was thinking more of, I want him to know I believe in him. I want him
Yes.
to know that I love his idea. I want him to know that it's a safe place to share ideas with me as his
Hmm.
mother. And then I thought, okay, what are we going to do? But my initial reaction was, wow, where is he coming from?
Yeah.
Because yeah, it just kind of came out of the blue. We had never had conversations like this before. And so we're going, and I said, "Well, what about food?" And he goes, "That's even a better idea." I'm like,
Hmm.
"Okay." So he knew how to write, but not really. So he got a pen and a pad in the back of the car, and he was trying to write out a list of what he wanted, but I couldn't even read it really well, right? So I'm like, "Okay, Evan, you tell me what to do." And he said, "Well, let's get some of this and some of that." So we went around randomly in Walmart and asked people for donations. Like we just hit
Really?
people up, and people were like, a couple of people gave us, a few bucks. And I asked the actual Walmart itself, but because we're not a nonprofit or anything, they couldn't donate.
Yeah.
But we went to the deli counter and we're like, okay. And I didn't have a paycheck that week. So I was like, oh my God, I've got limited funds, like, what are we going to do? And we spent what, 50, $60 maybe? That was it. That's what I had.
Hmm.
And we bought as much stuff as we could. We ended up feeding 25 people.
Wow.
So this is a boy who would not make a sandwich for if his life depended on it, wouldn't help make his school lunch, nothing. And we got home and he's like, "I'm doing it all." He made
Wow.
all the sandwiches. He wouldn't let me touch anything. He's like, "Mom, you can cut them, but that's it." We had sandwiches, fruit, cookies, lollipops is his signature thing because that's the only candy he would eat. We had drinks, we had bananas, things like that. And then I said, "Okay, you ready to go?" And he says, "Well, no." He goes, "If we're going to pretend it's their birthday, then we need to give them a birthday card." So I was like, "Oh dear. Okay, it's like 10, 11 o'clock now." I'm like, "If we're going to feed these people, let's go find people," right? And he was like, "Well, no, we need to do cards." So he sat there and he made 25 homemade birthday cards.
Wow.
And we had a little stapler. I still have this little mini stapler that we use.
Wow.
And we would staple them to the boxes. And I'm like, okay. So I went to my neighbors and I said, "Do you have a wagon I could borrow? My son's got this crazy idea." And she's like, "Sure, just bring it back, Threw the wagon in the car, all the bags in the car. Didn't even think about stuff like, it's blowing snow. So these bags of food are going to get wet. Like all of these things didn't even occur to us. When you're a child, you don't see the challenges.
Hmm.
You're like, "No, we're doing this and we'll figure it out." And that's it. It's my job as a mom to just do it, right? You can't disappoint him, he's staring at you with his little
And
body.
that's beautiful. You mentioned that as a child, they don't see the challenges and all that, but that's beautiful because that's also what's holding us back, adults, to start
Yes.
whatever we want to do. Oh, what if this? What if no? Just go and figure it out on the way.
I know. And I try to remember that all the time. It's like, don't make excuses.
Yeah,
Just do it. Think as a child would. And he was just like, no, we're doing it. I don't know what we're doing. We're driving on the way to the store, but we're going to figure it out on the way there.
that's the best mindset. Absolutely love that.
And yeah, I was so proud of him. But he also taught, I don't know, going into it, he was a little bit afraid. He would say to me, Mom, homeless people are dirty. They're scary looking. Is this
Mm.
going to be okay? And at the end of it, I said to him, so what do you think now? And he says, they're just like us. They just need a shower. He goes, they're
Ah,
not scary. They're not scary. They're people just like us. So to hear his little voice say that to me, I
wow.
was so happy. And we got in the car when we were done, and he says, we're going to do this again. Next time, we're going to bring dad.
Oh yeah.
I said, okay. So a week later, he's like, can we do it again? I'm like, well, why don't we give it a little bit of time? I can't do this every week. I don't have the money for it. And honestly, and he's now 16. We just did our ninth one. So every
Mm.
year around October now, I don't do it in December anymore. It's too cold. Um, but October, so we'll be doing it at the end of October. We're now at 50 lunches that we do.
Uh-huh.
We have about one year we had up to 30 kids that came to our house. We gather donations, and the children, because I like it to be a child project because they learn so much and they learn how to be grateful, and they get gift bags, and it's not just lunches anymore. So we do socks, mitts, hats, tents, coats, Tim Hortons gift cards, food gift cards, toiletries, playing cards, because sometimes they just want to play cards with their friends, and you
Sure.
know a little notebook, whatever it is, and tarps for the winter and to keep them warm. And we go to the used store and we get some blankets and things like that. And we still do the lunches, and we get the kids involved, because my son being 16, he's not that interested in doing homemade cards anymore, to be honest. So he recruits people at elementary schools, and the
That's
teachers get
amazing.
the kids involved. Yeah, and because we love doing the cards, right? And we just walk around downtown. We walk around downtown in my town. We know where to find people, and we give them out. And we stop at the Salvation Army, because I always like to give the volunteers a education lesson. So
Mm.
the Salvation Army lets us walk around. They teach us about what it's about. They show us the showers and the food, and where, how they help the community, because I love the kids to see what happens in those places. And yeah, so I love it so much. We do it every year. And I hope now that he's a teenager, he will completely take it over and continue. That is my hope. But ultimately, I don't push. It's up to him. And it's amazing. But I just have to tell you one more thing about this story. When we were giving out the lunches, we saw so many children his age, and that was shocking. It was shocking that it's not, people think that homeless people are mentally ill, old men who are out there lazy, not wanting to work. And it's not the case. So people need to educate themselves before they judge. And I just wanted to say that, because a lot of people are families. They're families with children who
Mm-hmm.
work but don't make enough. And there's a lot of reasons. So until you're in these people's shoes, I think start conversations with people on the street, find out their story, you know?
Absolutely. They all have a story. Speaking of a story, something went wrong and took a wrong turn, and now they kind of stuck. But the key thing is, even they can unlock that because the key is inside, and they just need
Yes.
someone to show them the way and treat them with respect, give them dignity, and give them, hey, you can do that. Those people
Yes.
need a cheerleader, someone to bring back belief, not only in humanity to them, but believe in themselves, because that's what they're lacking mostly.
It's funny that you say that, Payman. I completely agree, because, you know, we had some of these homeless friends of ours, because now we know them by name and they're our friends.
Hmm.
And they always say to us, thank you for not walking around us. Thank you
Hmm.
for walking toward us. Because most people, when we see someone who's asking for money, we're like, oh God, here we go again. And we walk around, we cross the street, we put our heads to the other side, pretend we don't notice them. And this day, there was a group of kids walking, trying to find them, trying to not ignore them. We were actually looking to connect with them because they're people. And although they appreciated the food, they appreciated the conversations and the hugs from the kids, and just to feel that they weren't alone in this world and that they weren't forgotten. And I think this is something, regardless of whether you're homeless or you're rich or whatever your situation is, everybody wants to feel like they belong and someone cares about them.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to feel forgotten.
Absolutely. Wow. When is the next time you're doing these events?
So I'm hoping to go to Costa Rica first week of October. So when we get back, we're going to start planning it. So it might be the end of October, beginning of November.
Okay.
You should come up with us. You're not too far. Come join the project.
As I said, I'm looking to go to Brazil at the end of October, early November.
Oh,
But I'm
yes,
still,
that's right.
but if I'm still around, I would love to. Actually, I swear to God, I was just when you're talking, I was just looking here. What the fastest way for me to get from here to Barrie. So I
Yeah,
can
not
see it
long.
right now. I'm
It's
looking at it.
it's it's probably an hour for you.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Well, we've planted the seed, so who knows? I would be
Yes.
honored to be there and meeting you, meeting your son, and meeting those people, and that would be a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know what? We do it every year. So,
Yeah. Tell us also about you mentioned about the ukulele project.
yes. So, through my son's introduction to giving, I slowly, over the next few years, even though I was very depressed, music and podcasts were the
Mm,
one thing that helped me. Because, I don't know if you used to do this in high school, but when you have a book, like I used to read self-help books in high school, and I would cover the book with uh paper, like wrapping paper, so people wouldn't tell, oh, the girl's reading The Broken Girl. Like, you don't want people to know what you're reading, as a teenager.
yeah.
Oh, parents of what, like, you don't want people to know that you're reading a self-help book because it shows that maybe you're broken, you're not perfect, right?
Mm,
So I used to cover it with like newspaper so nobody could see the cover. And I used to go home and then I would listen to podcasts. And I loved it because I would put it in my ears and nobody could tell what I was listening to.
wow.
Unlike a book where everybody could see what you were reading on the Toronto subway. And I used to listen, and podcasts would, like I say again, podcasts would really help me with my mental health, because no
Oh
matter
yeah.
what, even if nobody understood me, I could hear a familiar story. Somebody had a similar story somewhere. It doesn't have to be the exact same story for you to feel something, for
Hmm.
you to feel empathy, for you to feel like you belong, right? And music did that for me. So music was one of the very few things that let me cry when I was sad,
Hmm.
that let me throw things and be angry and just angry at the world. And I would listen to, Metallica. I love Metallica. I've been to like 10 concerts.
Wow.
And then I would, when I was like just needing to relax, I would listen to chanting or different things. Music was the thing that allowed me to celebrate or to be miserable, my depression.
Mm,
And I knew how much it did for me. So when I was looking for giving, it's funny, I worked for a few physicians, and one of the physicians, before, she's the one who introduced me to Guatemala. So one of
wow.
the physicians, I had just met her. She was going to start like the week after. And she says, oh, we have to delay my start date. And I said, oh, okay. She goes, yeah, we do a yearly trip to Guatemala, me and my family, and I do a medical trip. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, wow. I didn't even remember her name because we were just introduced to her, but I'm like, can I come?
Wow.
And she was like the first day we met. And she's like, well, you can't come like next week, but we can talk about it. So originally I was supposed to go with her and her family, because I always wanted to go to a third world country, but I was a little bit afraid of what to expect, to be honest. I'm like, well, what am I going to do there? I had all these preconceived notions of what people are telling me. There's a lot of gang violence. There's a lot of, it's not safe, all of these things. So we had talked about it, and she had gone with her family. It's a great example
Hmm.
that her family, so as a teenager, she would go every year. So this is like a second home to her. And what happened was we were planning a trip, and then all of a sudden, a volcano blew up in Guatemala.
Wow.
And she's like, my trip's been canceled. And the medical place where I go and do my work, they've shut down due to funding. So I was so distraught. I was like, oh, okay. But then within the next 6 months, I came to her and I said, well, I said, I'm thinking of running a project there. Will you come support me?
Mm.
And she said, absolutely. So I came up with this idea of healing through music. And I thought, what if we could go there and help kids, underprivileged kids, who didn't have a chance or time to dream, who didn't
Oh,
have hope, not because hope wasn't possible, but because to me, I see them as going to work, going to school. Um, their priority is their parents' priority is paying for food and living day by day. So when you have that situation, who has time to teach their kids about dreams? It's about survival.
yes. I was about to say it. Yeah.
And I thought there's so much more to life than
Mhm.
just survival. So I thought, why not do music? My dad was a musician. We all play a little bit. I'm like, if we could bring joy and happiness and just remind people that they're not forgotten, that's my biggest thing. I want to end loneliness in the world because life is hard enough to go through things on your own, but to go through them feeling by yourself, you may not be alone, but you think you are, everything is like tenfold, right? Everything
Yeah.
feels so much heavier. So I wanted to know, she had planted the seed of Guatemala, and I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. We got to figure it out. We got to do this project. So we decided on ukuleles, and that's how it started, to be honest with you. And then her and her family decided to support us and join us.
Wow.
So it was fantastic. So we connected with some of the people that she connected me with down there, and we were able to go to three different preschools, so ages 3 to 6, and we brought laughter and joy and music. We did a little concert for them. We handed out ukuleles in the classroom, so now they have them on site, so children can rotate them and bring them home. And we had brought shakers for some of those kids who didn't, we didn't have as many ukuleles as we had liked. And this feeling that you get, those children didn't even know why we were there that day. But as soon as they saw us with these bright ukuleles, they all ran up to us and they're like hugging us. They don't even know who we are. Here are some foreigners, right? And wow, they were so receptive. And I have videos of them dancing and singing and all of these beautiful things. And they actually prepared like a Spanish song for us, a welcome song.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, we didn't know how to play the ukuleles. We learned for this trip. And we learned a little bit of Spanish for this trip. And we ended up writing, it's Hola Guatemala. We ended up writing
Wow.
our own Spanish song welcoming Canadians with Guatemalan children. It's a beautiful song, actually. I should share it with you someday.
Please. Yes.
And it was amazing. And the smiles on the kids, but the smiles on my son's face because he came, and my husband came. It was phenomenal.
Hmm.
We were through that project. It was so new and it was just an idea at the time, but we had been able to help a family start their own business through COVID. We had been able to help so many other things while we were there. It was just the beginning, it was a drop in the bucket. And you asked me earlier about what makes me angry. And so we went March of 2020. And when we were coming back, that's when the planes had shut down. And it made me angry because everybody was in isolation here. But I
Hmm.
left a country that was putting white flags outside their doors, which signifies poverty, that they haven't eaten in a few days.
Oh no.
And they're so family oriented. And the kids there were getting COVID, they were getting dengue fever. And I come back here and it's only been shut down for a couple of weeks. And I hear Canadians, Americans, British, everywhere from all around the world complaining that they have to spend time with their family at home.
First world
And I was
problems.
like, oh my God, what is this world like?
Mhm.
And it hurt me. And it just, that's why I'm so passionate about families taking trips with their children, but getting off like the resorts and showing kids what the life there is really about.
Yes.
Because I think the mentality of the richer countries, like even with Canada, maybe people wouldn't have had that reaction during COVID. Maybe they would have been more grateful through the whole process, you know? And I think it's so important for us to teach these things to our children. And that's a huge part of my message, you know?
Yeah,
And it helps us. It helps us in the process. Nobody loses.
absolutely. You know, it's powerful what you said because in a way, we actually needed something as like COVID to make us realize, hey, what's really important, what really matters. It's not your job, it's not your boss, it's not getting a bigger house, the latest phone or whatnot. It's actually spending time with the people around you,
Yeah.
doing getting back to your family, getting back closer to nature, and just reflecting what really truly matters in life. You know, resetting your priorities. And as a species, we needed that in a way because
Mm.
as one thing I understood is that there's always something valuable lesson to learn in anything, even in tragedy. And this might be one of the lessons that we all needed as a human species, you know, as a mankind to learn that because otherwise we wouldn't have been just we've gone too much down the path of, you know, me, and, you know, what's in it for me and all that, and which was not sustainable.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's hard to find the gifts sometimes in the moment, but there's always gifts.
Oh, yeah.
You were talking with me yesterday about your father and how you learned
Mm-hmm.
patience and you had this awakening when your father was sick.
Patient,
And
compassion, and becoming more, yeah, controlling my emotions. Yes.
and I went through a very similar thing when my father was ill as well. My father passed away of cancer at 59, and I was his caregiver and I was pregnant. And I was always, okay, let's go. Why can't you walk faster? Why can't you do this?
Yes.
Why can't you do that? And then you realize that you start to put everything on hold. You know, before it would be like when I visited my parents, I'd be like, okay, how long are we going to be here?
Mm-hmm.
And then it became we turned the TV off, we put the dishes on hold, nobody called anybody. We sat down and we just talked.
Yes.
And I learned more. And I interviewed my father the months before he died.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to just learn about all the things I never made time to learn about him. And it was so powerful to me. And it's some of the best memories that I have with him was right before. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember you saying the same thing. And I think it's because we allowed ourselves no distractions. Because when there's a time crunch and you know this, there's an end date to this person's life, everything becomes heightened. Like, how many minutes can I get in? How many, you know, and it's sad, but it changed my life. The day my father passed away, I had never seen anybody die in front of me.
Mm.
And the day that my father passed away, I promised myself that I would learn to live differently. I promised myself to make no matter how long I had left, make it mean something because I didn't want to have regrets. That's a big fear of mine
Mm-hmm.
as well. But even with that intention, it took me 12 years to start that because I was so overcome with grief and I thought if I didn't talk about it, I was protecting myself, but instead it just made my mental health explode in all these negative ways. And I still had the grief. So now I'm all about let's get people to share and open
Mm-hmm.
up because that's what's going to help you get through these things, not holding things in.
Yes.
And then about 3, 4 years ago, I remembered, I'm like, what was the gift in all of this?
Mm.
And I remembered the promise that I made to myself. And it was okay that I couldn't do it at the time, but I can now. So that's what I'm all about is just living every day. I'm not perfect, Payment. I am so far from perfect, but that's what nobody is. That
Exactly.
just do it. Like I do everything imperfectly, but I just start. Whereas before I was too afraid to start. So there's always a gift.
Yes.
And yeah, like I said, you may not see it in the moment and you may think it's crazy and you'll never see it. But when you finally accept it, is of course I wouldn't have wanted my father to die. Of course I would
Sure.
want him to know my son and be here and go with me and play music in Guatemala with me. But that's not the way it happened. So what can I take away from that, you know? So yeah, I agree with you.
No, it's beautiful. Your father is still, even though he may not be here physically, is always around you, and your heart is seeing what you're doing. Is extremely proud of you guys, and I can feel it because they never leave us. They're always around us. You know, I feel my father's presence, my mother's presence around me. I know they're watching. I know they're here. Same thing for you. And always one thing that I will remember for what you said is beautiful example of your son, 6 year old. He just had an idea. He didn't know anything about how to make it happen, but just go for it. And that's one of the things I learned recently that's very powerful. And that is our job is to figure out the why, the how, that's none of your business. The
Yes.
how, that the universe is gonna bring you the right people, the right circumstances, the right pieces in ways that defy any logic or understanding. You just, that's none of your business. Don't even bother trying to figure out the how. Just put your intentions, know what you want to do, and why you want it. Especially if it's for good, then just watch. Magic is gonna unfold in front of you. I've seen that in my life. You've seen it in front of you with your son, with everything you've done since then. Bottom line is just like the cheesy line from Nike. Just do it. Just go. There's no perfect line. Perfect time, sorry.
There isn't. And it took me a while to believe in that. And that's why I'm so
Yeah,
happy that you're sharing this message on your show, because I think the sooner people realize that, the more they can get on with it, get on with their
absolutely.
life. You know, I never thought I would start a podcast.
Yeah.
And because I never felt I had a voice. And it wasn't until I started that I felt I had a voice.
This is what I keep telling my student, my audience. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Even though you might feel that your story doesn't matter, you don't even have a story because, I've heard people saying, I don't even have a story. I felt that myself.
Yes.
That's the number one thing that's stopping people from sharing their gift. As I said, we all go through our share of dark times, tragedies, heartbreaks, whatever you want to call it. Sure, there hurts a lot when we go through it, but they're meant to happen for us. They don't happen to you. They're not there to punish you, but to guide you to get to your next stage of your evolution. And then those become your story, and then your story becomes your gift, and your gift becomes your responsibility to share it. And that's one of the reasons we're here, not just for us to go through a bunch of challenges and heartbreaks and all that. If all we did was just to learn from them and become a better person, that would be a good start. But we'd only be using 10% of its potential, and 90% is sharing it with the world so we can all collectively rise. We can all learn from each other's. And yes, your story matters. Every story matters. So,
And I would even say, I love that so much. I love everything about you. But I would
mm,
even say, the more you think you don't have a story, the more you actually do have a story.
yes. And if you feel
Because,
another story, be careful what you ask for. We have that the friend of ours, not gonna name her, but she will remember, she will know who I'm talking about. She said, I don't have a
yes,
story. And then life throws cancer at her. Wow, be careful what you ask for.
yeah, it was Karen O'Connor. She's an
Oh
incredible
yeah.
person.
Beautiful
Incredible.
person. Yes, yes.
And yeah, because those people that don't think they have a story,
They
it
have the
tells
most powerful
me,
stories.
oh, yes. And it tells me a few things about them already. It tells me, why do they think they're not special enough? Why do they think there's stories behind those feelings of reasons why you don't feel like you have a story, right? Um, yeah, it's remarkable.
You
I
know,
love
the,
helping people uncover their stories.
it's one thing to showcase stories of people that have achieved greatness and become a billionaire and cross the Atlantic by swimming and all those crazy incredible things. But then the most powerful, the most relatable, the most inspiring stories are the stories of so-called little people because we can relate with those.
Yes.
When people are looking to get a coach, they're not looking for the guy or the woman that's a billionaire because they're a different reality. They're looking for someone that's one, two, or three steps ahead of them that can relate with them, and most importantly, that are accessible. This is what people want.
Mm.
So even if you just start, even if you have no PhD to your name, you have no audience like you, for example, didn't even go to college or university, you have a story, and your story does matter because even if your story can inspire just one person, and that person goes on to inspire another person, and so on and so forth, then together we can create a ripple effect around the world. It's going to change the world, the frequency, vibration, energy of this planet towards a more positive one. You know, one thing I love saying all the time is 1 plus 1 in math is 2, but in real life is 11. 2 people coming together is 11. 3 people coming together is 111. 4 people coming together is not 4, but 1,111, because when people come together with the same vision, the same mindset, it exponentially explodes. So that's something I'm very passionate about. I talk a lot, but I'm going to shut up and just
No,
thank
I
you.
love listening to you. You're so inspiring.
Thank you.
Honestly. And I could have came on here today and not been myself. I could have came on here and said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that."
Mhm.
But I didn't. I came and said I never felt good about myself. I was
Yeah.
honest. I hated myself. There were times I didn't want to live. There were times where I was in
Oh,
this
yeah.
deep depression. There were times that I didn't think anything good of my life. And that will relate to people, I think, because we're all have moments in our life that we don't feel good enough, that we feel lonely, that we feel forgotten. And that's the stories that it's okay to share. I want people to know,
Yes.
like you said, it doesn't have to be, oh my goodness, I ran, the big like 50K and I came first place, or I climbed this mountain. It won't relate with as many people because not
Yeah.
many people do that. Those
Exactly.
are inspiring and incredible. And I love hearing about those things, but it's the everyday people. How did you
Yes.
overcome that really will resonate with somebody who needs to hear that story?
Absolutely. What you just went through yourself, you know, depression, suicidal, and all that, low self esteem. These are, in a way, beautiful gifts, blessing in disguise, because they will help you to form the most inspiring and powerful and empowering story for others. Because you can bet your bottom dollar that there's so many other people who are like you, even worse than us.
Yes.
You know, there's a saying you mentioned, coming back from Guatemala, people hadn't eaten for days, and then here we complain about being stuck at home. You know, there are people that would kill to get a taste of our worst time, our worst days, because they don't have
Yes.
literally nothing, or even they don't even have a hand, or they have limbs missing, or whatever. You know, I traveled a lot, and I've seen people like, especially in the Philippines and Thailand, that have no arms, no legs, and they basically, the way they move around, they're just lying on the stomach on skateboards, and somehow they drag themselves and whatnot. I mean, and these people are hustling, and they're trying to survive in a third world countries. There's no social welfare system, so you're on your
Mhm.
own, literally. So when you see that, wow. So what am
And
I
then,
to?
yeah, yeah. And then you see people here in the same situation who are amputees and they're thriving. Why? Because we have the means to train
Yes.
them, to give them rehab, to give them prosthesis, to do all these things, and they're doing remarkable things. It's not because they're better people. It's we're teaching them the skills which
Yeah.
those people in other countries aren't able to have. That's why I think
Mhm.
it's so important. If you're going to go to a place like that, like you're talking about Thailand, bring skills that to help those people, show them
Yes.
better ways to get
Hmm.
around and hustle, because they want it just what they want is the same as what we want. Let's go there. If you're going to go visit, bring a skill, teach them how to do things
Hmm.
easier,
Yes.
because it's not the fact that they don't have limbs as their situation. Their situation is they don't have the means to do anything about it.
Yeah.
It's not
Exactly.
that they're different than an amputee here. It's
Hmm.
just that here you're given so many resources. And,
Yeah.
in this day and age, it doesn't hold you back here.
Hmm. Yeah. No. Absolutely. That's a great point. And no, you know, it's just like there are people would kill to have our worst day. You know, because the fact of that we even take for granted things like having a roof over our head, a warm, comfortable bed, even something to eat. We don't have to worry about what I'm gonna eat tonight or tomorrow, because people that have this is part of the daily survival. How I'm gonna get something to eat today.
Yeah. And, sometimes I think in a common household, people know about this, but it's not something they really talk about over the dinner table.
No, yeah.
But then there's those who travel and have been to those places. And that's always in the back of their mind because they have experienced not what it's like for the people there, but they have experienced or observed, I guess is what I should say. They have observed people in that situation, right? So you start to think differently. I was watching something on YouTube with my son just the other night, and it was about the difference between India and the States, for example. And it was talking about food. And they were saying for the price of a Big Mac combo
Mm,
in India, which is something only rich people can afford, here we think of it as nothing. It's a snack. Like a
yeah.
$20 McDonald's combo there is like something you would never buy.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine that, but I think we have to be more aware because some people like, I don't want to think of that because it makes me sad. It makes me
Mm,
sad that people are in poverty. It makes me sad. So if I don't think about it, it won't hurt me. I can ignore it. But the
yeah.
fact is, don't ignore it. You know,
No.
go visit these countries. They're not unsafe. It will
No.
open your eyes, it will open your family's
Totally.
eyes, and you'll see that 90% of the world is like this.
Mm-hmm.
They live like that. And once you realize that, you know, like Guatemala from here, from Toronto, is 4 hours.
Yes.
It's like, okay, 4 hours. You take a 4 hour flight and it's a different world.
Big time. Yes.
And it's so close to us, but yet we think when we talk about, you know, these countries, they're so far, they're so distant, it's a different planet. But it's not. People are the same as we are. We have more
Totally.
similarities than we have differences, you know?
That's one of the most powerful things I learned in my travels. It's that doesn't matter whether you're white, black, green, blue, whatever, yellow. At the end of the day, it's the same thing. We all want the same thing. We want to be loved, cared, respected, and have opportunities. That's all we want, and treated with
Yeah.
dignity. So
Yeah.
this is why traveling is a powerful, beautiful, the most amazing thing to do because it teaches you not only about the world, but teaches about you, about yourself, about why you're here and what can you do to make the world a better place. Not and to make the world a better place doesn't mean that you yourself have to change the world. No, because not any single individual can do that. But every one of us doing a little bit in our own little circle of influence, that can create a ripple effect, and that's where the 1 + 1 = 11 comes into play, the magic of the universe. So no action is small enough, even if we're just to give a homeless person just a burger on the way, and that's good enough. That's
Yeah,
if the
because you
person's
don't know. You don't
yeah,
know if that person that you gave a burger to was on their way to jump off a bridge. And by
yeah,
you giving them that burger, they're like, somebody thought of me. I am
yeah,
important. And they walk the other way. You don't know. You don't see, you see the moment of
yeah,
impact when you give something to somebody. You don't see what happens behind the scenes. You don't see
no,
what happens after. Sometimes it stops there, but sometimes it doesn't. And you
yeah,
just don't know how many, by doing one thing, how many people you actually change down the line. Because the person you're helping might help somebody else who might help somebody else just because of that small thing. There's no way to know.
perfect because you mentioned that person helping someone else, and what if you were to give a combo to someone? Like I wouldn't be surprised if they were to share that with two, three other people.
Mm,
You
yeah.
know, and that might be the only meal of the day. Some of them even meal of 2 days.
Yeah. Or maybe you gave them a combo and they felt more energy. So they went to a friend of theirs and perhaps started, you know, put a smile on their face. And
Yes.
even if they didn't share the food, but to feel more alive. And that reflects on somebody else who's having a horrible day. You just don't know. You don't, and it doesn't have to be homeless people.
Yeah.
You could be in a mall and look over and see someone who looks troubled and just go and start a conversation with them. And that
Yeah.
might give them just enough hope to get through that day.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't have to be somebody who has less than you. It can be
Yeah.
somebody who has more than you. Some of the most loneliest people I know have a lot of money.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I just want to make it clear it's not just people that are homeless, it's people, it's humans.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it's so important to me that, see, my message, Payment, if you don't mind,
Absolutely.
my message is twofold. Okay. So I started my business. It's called Travel, Live, Give. And for me, it's got two parts to it. So of course, as you can tell from our conversation, I love to give people to give to people. I love to feel, as I promised the day that my father died, that I'm doing more than just thinking about myself through my life. But the other side of it is, I remember the Nelia that didn't feel good, that had no confidence, that all of these always felt sad and couldn't figure out why. The girl who always was in the cage, who never felt like she
Mhm.
belonged. And I want to change that for the average person too. And I know that that will, because so there's the two sides. There's the giving to other people, but it's giving to yourself first, right? So to me, they go hand in hand. That's why I say that the number one reason to feel better about yourself and who you are and believe in yourself is the feeling you get from helping other people.
Mhm.
So that's what I want to do. It's both of those together, because I remember what it's like to be that person, and I know how it felt then, and I know how it feels now. And the feeling is so much better now, being in my body, being in who I am, than it used to be. And
Sure.
it was all from that. That's my message. That's the hope. And that's why I'm trying to connect people who perhaps don't feel good about themselves, people who are looking for a purpose, people who are looking for something to help with their mental health. Hey, let's figure out what you're good at. Let's figure out what's important to you, because some people don't think they're good at anything. Oh, I'm not good at sports. I'm not good at art. I'm not good at anything. So those are the people I want to help, because I can connect them and say, hey, you can be a leader. Your
Mhm.
message matters. You can start your own project. You know, it's different to me than volunteering. We were talking about this yesterday,
Yes.
because volunteering is something you may not really enjoy doing, you know, so you won't do it again. My son had to do it for school. You have to have
I
so
was
many
about to
hours.
mention that. Yeah. You did
Yeah,
like it. Yeah.
he did it. He's like, Mom, I was at a camp, you know, I had to do 40 hours for school. And these kids, they were annoying. It was hot. I had to run around and no energy. But yet he's such a giving person, but it just wasn't his thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I find if you find what it is that mean, because you have your own passions, I have my own passions.
Sure.
Somebody else might be interested in something completely different. And if you do something that aligns with that and with who you really are, you'll repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal, is to help people reach that project that they're going to be passionate about and do it over and over and over, because you and I can only affect so many people, but if we can
Exactly.
help other people continue it, can you
Inspiring
imagine,
others. Yes.
you know, and that's why I started my podcast, Giving Starts With You.
You're just speaking as if you're just speaking my message. That's exactly why I started this, because the motto of my podcast is inspiring entrepreneurs to do good. So together we can create a better world.
I love,
So
that's why it's so
yeah,
great.
yeah, absolutely. Wow. We're like twins from different mothers, you know?
Exactly.
We might be connected at the soul level. So
Yes, because our father's stories are similar. You know, the whole
yeah,
Portuguese thing, you live so close to me. Your heart, I love your heart, and it
thank you.
shines through your eyes, you know. Even though we're on a screen, I can tell people's hearts through their eyes, through their
Totally.
emotion. And I
Totally.
feel that with you. It's fantastic.
Totally. I love that. We can talk for hours, but
Yes.
there's another thing I want to talk also is you mentioned you've written a few books. Tell us about your books.
So, my book, Sole Purpose, is to help people realize that they're not alone in their
Mhm.
despair, in their feelings. So, my book, can I show you a copy?
Absolutely.
So, this is my book. It's called Giving My Heart Room to Breathe,
Okay.
A Journey Through Grief, Healing, and Giving. So, it's the story of how I got through my grief and my anxiety and depression, how I managed those things.
Show me again the
Yeah.
cover.
So, it
Oh,
has a bird cage.
I love the birdcage. I was about to say that. Yes, yes,
It
yes.
has a bird cage, and the reason why it has the tree is because my father hated mosquitoes and he hated the sun. He liked the shade. So when we laid him to rest, we made sure there was very few trees at the cemetery, and we made sure we picked a tree that was always in the shade to lay him there, and that's part of the tree there.
Mm,
Um, that's the story behind it. But I want it's just a story of my journey and how giving helped me and how it can help you and all the things I learned along the way. But yeah, that's my book. I also have, because I believe, okay, so I'll be really quick, but my podcast is all about giving starts with you. So the reason it's called that. So when I was at my worst and I didn't take care of myself, didn't take care of my family, and I couldn't give to other people in that state.
mm-hmm.
I could not taking care of my daily needs, not taking care of my feelings, any of those things. Even just wanting to get up and have a shower. Some days were hard, to be honest with you. I was in such a horrible place.
Sure.
I couldn't give to anybody because I didn't have anything left. I didn't believe I had any gifts to give. And I feel like growing up in an immigrant family, my parents were all about giving to others, but we never talked about taking care of yourself. It wasn't a thing. And it wasn't because it came from a place of anything negative. It's just they didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that. Like even
Yeah.
now, it wasn't a thing to take care of yourself. And it wasn't until that birdcage day and I realized I need to do this for me that I was able to give to the community, to start projects, to help my family, to help the community. And so my podcast is all about that. It's about giving to yourself so that you can give to other people. So
Mm,
one of the ways that I'm trying to help people realize to give to themselves is coloring. So I created this idea of 15 minutes of adult coloring for mindfulness to help you get grounded. So I created this coloring book. It's
wow.
called The Ultimate I Deserve a Coloring Book, 15 minutes to
Love
peace,
that.
And inside of it, I have my message, but also like the ukulele project.
Mm,
I have different pages in there. It's available on Amazon. And it's just to help people take 15 minutes every day to just do for themselves, regain their energy so that they can go out in the world and give back. So,
wow.
yeah, that's my books. Long story
Lo-
short.
Love that. Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. And your podcast and all that. I love the theme, the principle, and all that.
Thank
Now,
you.
you're welcome. I want to get back to your business. So you mentioned about giving an opportunity for people to out to build their passion projects.
Yes.
What would you say is your ideal client avatar for that?
My ideal client is somebody like me who works 9 to 5, who lives every day the same as the last, exhausted, going to work, coming home, being just wanting more meaning and wanting more meaning, more passion in
Mm-hmm.
their life, knowing that life is more than just going to work, coming home, wanting more for their life, wanting to improve their mental health, wanting to feel all those feelings I'm talking about, starting to give back and having a purpose and meaning and just making their life happier and more
Mm-hmm.
fulfilled. I want to show them that this is the way to do it, to create your own project, to experience these feelings that I experience when I go to these things. And knowing that not only are you helping yourself, but you're helping these other people in these countries.
Totally. How long have you been doing this business?
A couple of years. It's
Okay.
fairly new, but the impact has been really great so far. And I've got all these things in the works. And yeah,
Love
I'm
that.
excited. I'm excited.
S- Speaking of the impact, share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
So people going from not being able to share their story because they're ashamed to coming out of it, discovering who they are, that they have something to say,
Mhm.
that they believe in themselves, to writing a book, to becoming a speaker, to sharing and creating their own projects. Um, they're remarkable. I've got a few people who are doing that. And it makes me so happy. But yet they come to me and they say, oh, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have thought about this, or I wouldn't have, you opened my eyes. And I'm like, you did the work. All I
Yeah,
did was guide you. You're the
exactly.
one that did the hard work. You're the one that said, you know what, maybe I don't believe in myself yet, but
Hmm.
let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah,
Because once you believe in yourself, anything is possible. So I
totally.
love showing people that, telling them, hey, I know I was you. I know
This
how
is
down
key.
you are on yourself. I may not have an education behind it, but I have the experience. And I can tell you that when I was depressed, Payman, I was comfortable there. It was familiar.
Wow.
It was tough to get out of it, to find
Hmm.
something new. It took a lot of energy I didn't have. And
Hmm.
it's very easy to become comfortable in the 9 to 5. It's very
Sure.
easy to become comfortable day in, day out. Every day looks the same. Time goes so quickly. And I want people to realize that if you're intentional with your time, if you're giving back, if you're a leader in your own project, time slows down. And the quality of your life and the quality of time, you just create so many positive things. There's no negatives. Like it's
Yeah,
everybody wins. Why not?
totally.
Why not make yourself feel better about who you are? Why not know you're making a difference? You're not losing anything at all.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. You're just speaking a lot of time. I listening to you say, wow, is she just repeating what I tell when I talk about my podcast all the time? Because that's exactly, you just saying the same thing, but in different words. Wow. Love that. Love that. Listen, Nelia, as I said, everything happens for a reason, the right time. We're meant to connect. We'll be doing a lot of things together, talking and podcasting, and who knows, 1 plus 1 is 11, So
Yes, I would
combining
love
our,
to invite you to my show. Come on my show.
I'd be
My
honored.
audience needs to hear you.
I'd be honored. I'd be honored. We'll talk about it after, but I'd be honored.
Yes,
Just say when, just say when. I'll be
anytime,
there. All
anytime.
right. So now let's start wrapping things up. And to finish off, I'd like to ask you a series of, again, rapid fire questions, but this time on
Okay.
advices. Ready?
Okay.
What's the best piece of advice you've received so far in your life?
My father said to me, don't think that you know everything.
Oh, yeah.
Don't ever feel that you're good enough because then you stop trying to be great.
Love that. Beautiful. Reminds me of the words of the eternal Socrates. The more I learn, the more I realize that I don't know anything. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Beautiful.
he was so right. So right.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what would you say has been so far the worst piece of advice you've received?
You need to finish high school, get married, have kids, go to university, find a job, support your family, forget about yourself.
Yeah. 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 Just shut up and
So
do what you're
opposite.
told. Yeah.
Just shut up and do what you're told. Absolutely.
Abs-
You're just like everybody else. You're not special.
yeah, absolutely. Now, imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time, sit face to face with 18-year-old Nelia. What's the number
Ooh,
one piece of advice you would give to her knowing all that you know now?
don't waste your time. I wasted a lot of time on the wrong things, on
Mm,
the wrong priorities. Really connect with, figure out what you love to do and do that.
mm-hmm.
That's not always what is expected of you, but that's okay. It's okay to not follow. Just be who you're meant to be.
Absolutely. Love that. Now, I know you're a podcaster, so that's wonderful. Imagine that today on your podcast, you're interviewing the most special person in the world.
Oprah.
And no, 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 none of those people. Some even way more special than those, and that is yourself. You're interviewing yourself.
Oh, okay.
What is the first question that you want to ask yourself? What's the first question that comes to your mind? Don't think too much.
Wow. Wow. Why didn't you believe in all the things you thought you were?
And what's your answer?
What's my answer? Oh, wow, Payman, you're killing me here. This is deep. This is deep, man. This is deep. I don't know what the answer is. I didn't have confidence. I always, I never felt I was equal to the people around me. I was
Yeah.
scared. I was scared to show who I was. I didn't think it would be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I regret that so much. My life could have felt like it is now so much earlier if I had just taken that risk and believed a little bit more. Yeah.
Love that.
It's sad, but if somebody can listen to that answer and take it to heart, to me, it changes that sadness into something I'm excited about for them.
Absolutely. That's a powerful message indeed. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, the last question I want to ask you, and that's my favorite question to ask my guests, and that is, what is the smallest thing you've done in your life so far that has had the greatest, most profound, positive impact in both your life and business? And by small, I don't mean something small, I mean the one thing. For me, for example, has been starting my podcast. What about you, Nelia?
It's a tie. Okay. Um, Writing my book,
Mm,
because writing my book didn't start by I'm writing a book.
mm-hmm.
It started a week after my father died as a diary,
Okay.
as notes from my interview with him. It was a way for me to keep him close, to remember him.
Wow. Beautiful.
And it took me years to finish because of the sadness I had every time I picked it up to write a little bit more. And I'm so proud of it, not because a million people have read it. I'm proud because people have come to me and said, your story has helped me so much because of this and this and that. And it helps me sleep at night knowing that people know this pain is not a unique pain.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I finished it and I've read it to my father after he died recently, um, and it's translated into Portuguese so my mother could read it,
Mm,
that really made me proud.
absolutely. Wow. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Wow. Listen, absolute honor. And now, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
So they can email me if they want at hello@neliahutt.com. I love meeting new people. I love connecting with people. We could chat, we could have a Zoom call, whatever is the best way. Um, Subscribe to the podcast. I would love to
Yes.
hear what your thoughts are. Be a guest. If you've got this story that you want to tell, be a guest on the show, you know? I
Yeah.
love it.
Beautiful.
I love it. And honestly, I want to help people live their best life. Okay. So if people want to go to, it's www.travellivegive.com. You
Love
can
that.
download a free, it's a blueprint about, so I go through mental health, life satisfaction, career satisfaction, giving to yourself, giving to others. It's sort of like an inventory. So you can see where you are in your life and where you want to be, and all the things maybe that you want to feel but are not quite there yet. If people want to download that, they can do that. And I think it's going to be really helpful just to get your priorities and think about what's important to you. So I would love for people to do that. But yeah, connect with me, email me. I'm on the other side of that email. So I will respond to you.
Absolutely. What's again the name of the your podcast?
Giving starts with you.
I love that. All right, I'll put all of those in the show notes. Listen, Nelia, absolute honor that we connected and that I was blessed to hear your story. Your story is again, this is episode 218 to 19, and this ranks right up there in the top five of the most goosebump inducing
Oh,
stories, the most powerful ones. And this is why last night when we finished talking around after almost 2 hours, I said, listen, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's get your story out ASAP. I never do that. I just, okay, here's my calendar, book something for next week or the week after. But for you, I said, what are you doing tomorrow? you know,
and I
As,
appreciate that so much.
seriously, listen, keep shining your light, keep blessing the world with your presence, with your impact, with your smile, with everything you're doing. And I can't wait to have your son even on the podcast. We'll make that happen. First, you
I'm
and
gonna
him,
try. I'm gonna try.
and then him alone. Oh, and one thing you need to do is get him to start his podcast. Because the stories he can tell. Oh my God, I can't wait.
He's just so shy. So I don't know. I'm gonna try my best, but I can't promise.
Listen,
He is so shy.
you mentioned you were shy. For me, I was
Yeah.
painfully shy, and one of the things that helped me kill my shyness was the podcast.
Yes, me too. Me
So
too. You should
he,
hear from the first episode till now. Oh my
oh,
God.
absolutely, same
But
here. I feel
what a
embarrassed about the first episodes, but it's okay. And I leave them on purpose for people to see the progression.
oh, and if I could just leave everybody with one thing is that
Please.
ordinary people, I'm an ordinary person, and ordinary people can do extraordinary things.
Absolutely.
And that's what our messages, I think, are here because we're all just really ordinary. You don't have to be, and it's okay. Greatness comes from that. And if you're listening to this and you just feel ordinary, I'm ordinary. I'm not doing anything that you can't do.
Yeah, and that's where the hope is that ordinary people can, just like you said, do extraordinary things. You just have to believe in yourself. We need someone like to give us a push. We all need a cheerleader, and you can be each
Yeah,
other's cheerleaders.
exactly. Thank you for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate it so much.
Pleasure's
Thank you
all
for
mine.
everything that you're doing on your show. It's amazing.
Pleasure's all mine. So as I said, keep shining your light. Stay safe. Stay awesome. God bless you. We're definitely gonna be talking a lot more now that we're connected. And I'm excited about what the impact we can have together by joining forces. The 1 + 1 = 11. So I'm excited. So Guatemala, Brazil, we talked last night. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
world is our playground to do good.
Thank
So
you.
very welcome. Have a wonderful day ahead of you. Enjoy your long weekend here. It's Labor Day weekend here in Canada. So and it's beautiful and warm and hot today. Gonna go out for a walk
Yes.
today soon. So talk to you soon, my friend. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye bye.